This is going to make some fitness influencers very angry, but it's the truth. Listen, I've lost 9% body fat. My husband's lost 10% body fat using this method, this very unconventional method of tracking protein. If you're trying to lose body fat, when it comes to losing weight, protein, protein, protein. All you hear about is protein. But how much protein do you really need? Do you have to track your protein? What's the easiest way to know how much protein you need? Is there a simplified formula that allows you to build muscle, lose weight, and change your body composition? The answer is yes. And I'm going to share it with you today in this episode of The Chalene Show. This episode is for that person who's like, I want to get results, but I need to do this in a way that's balanced and doesn't make me a crazy person. Welcome! You have found the perfect episode. Hey, thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate very much that you are here. And yeah, I do want to start off by saying that I am aware that there are going to be comments under this video. There are going to be people who come for me, people who are going to have a problem with what I have to say. And I also know that there's going to be a large percentage of you who will say, I've tried everything else, and what she says makes sense. And what harm is there in me trying this approach? Let me just warn you in advance, you're going to hate this episode. If you're the type of individual who you need to track every calorie, every macro, you time your foods, you are obsessed about whether you should do cardio fasted, what type of amino acids, the profiles of each and every type of protein. If you're at that place where you're obsessive and those little teeny tiny details make a big difference to you, this is not the episode for you. This episode is for that person who's like, I want to get results, but I need to do this in a way that's balanced and doesn't make me a crazy person. Welcome. You have found the perfect episode. My name is Chalene Johnson. And for those of you who this is the first time you've seen one of my episodes, I have been in the health and fitness industry for more than 30 years, which is crazy. I've done it all. I've done every fad diet. I've done personal training. I've trained tens of thousands of people virtually. I've trained hundreds of people in person. I'm a former personal trainer. I've also worked with my own personal trainer, someone who's trained me. I've worked with nutritionists. I've worked with registered dietitians. I've done it all. I've tracked my macros. I've tracked my calories. I've done all the things. I've gone through perimenopause. I've gained the weight. I've lost the weight. And I've been obsessive and orthorexic. And today, I am happy and healthy and balanced. I'm not obsessive about any of these things anymore. I've completely changed the way that I look at exercise, fitness, and nutrition. I look at what makes me happy. I look at what's working for me. And yes, I have done things other than just exercise and fitness, and I've done hormone replacement therapy. So it's not just protein, but today in this episode, we are going to specifically talk about protein. If you've done any research in the subject, you've probably heard a lot of fitness professionals suggest that you have anywhere from 1 gram to 1.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if we're just picking a round number, if you were 150 pounds, that would mean that you're having 150 grams of protein daily. Now, there are some people who split the hairs and they say, well, no, you should actually look at lean mass and you shouldn't factor in body fat percentages. There's also those people who say, oh, it should be closer to 0.6 grams. Some people say 0.8 grams. You know what I hear? I hear math and my brain goes numb. First of all, I hate having to pull out a calculator to live my life. I don't want to exist that way anymore. I want to just be able to live my life and make wise decisions. But when it comes to protein, when we're talking about putting on lean mass, when we're talking about weight loss in general, when we lose weight, ideally you want to lose fat and you want to maintain muscle because muscle is the fountain of youth. Muscle is what helps us to have shape. It helps us in terms of our energy. It helps us in terms of our metabolic flexibility. But there's so many things other than just the amount of protein that you consume that has an impact on how your body holds on to muscle, and when, in certain times, your body cannibalizes or eats your muscle. Things like stress, resistance training, your age, gender, how much effort you're putting into your workouts. Are you in a caloric deficit or surplus? Your hormone levels, your fitness levels, and many other factors. Protein is just one factor, but that is the factor we're going to focus on today. And you absolutely, spoiler alert, you absolutely can build muscle without being in those excessive ranges of protein intake. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But obviously you need all of the macronutrients, right? Like your body needs fat, your brain needs fat, you need carbohydrates, and you need protein. But it is protein that helps us to build stronger hair, stronger nails, stronger bones, and obviously to develop muscle. Like in order to put on lean muscle, you need protein. Consumption of protein helps us to maintain lean muscle mass. It also helps us to maintain body tissues. It's what keeps our organs working. It's part of the nervous system, our blood, our bones, our skin, our hair. Protein is slower to digest, so therefore many people believe that protein is more satisfying. Consider protein the building blocks of muscle. And if you're watching this video because you're trying to change your body composition, right, which I think hopefully that is your goal. I mean, actually, hopefully you love your body and you don't need to change anything. But if you are trying to change something, what I hope you're trying to do is focus on body fat and not your weight, right? Because we know that muscle weighs more than body fat. Body fat takes up more space. So you can I'm going to share with you some crazy stuff today, like personal stuff. You can be the same weight, but be several sizes smaller because you've lost body fat and gained muscle. But the burning question you probably have is, how much protein do you need? I know for me, that was the thing I thought was going to make such a big difference. And a lot of the reason why I believe that is because all of the fitness influencers that I followed, especially those who were doing fitness competitions, they were selling programs where it broke down what your macros needed to be in order to look like a fitness competitor, in order to get ripped, in order to look super lean, in order to cut fat. You needed to very carefully monitor every single piece of food that went in your mouth and know exactly what number of grams per day you need to consume a protein. And I'll tell you that for about, 2 years, I was obsessed with trying to hit that number. I had a former fitness competitor design for me a nutrition plan. I had my registered dietitian look at it too, but I had them design for me a nutrition plan, and they set forth for me how much protein I needed to consume each day in order to reduce my body fat and also to stay in a slight calorie deficit. I drove myself nuts. I found that during that period of time, it was so hard to get the protein in. First of all, it's so filling and it just felt like so much food, and I felt so heavy eating it, and I felt gassy and just kind of gross eating that much protein. And because I could never, I was God, I'm so full. I don't feel like eating anything more. But I would find at the end of the day, I was still 20, 30, sometimes 35 grams under what I was supposed to meet for my daily goal of protein intake. So then I would resort to doing weird protein mixtures. I would mix a protein pudding mixture, and then I would down a protein shake. And I was just doing so much of the processed protein in order to meet my protein goals. And I did reduce body fat at a relatively slow pace. But after a certain amount of time, I just remember I told the gal that I was working with, I told her, I can't do this anymore. I am driving myself crazy. I'm not living my life. I'm thinking too much about what I'm eating, what I'm not eating. Am I getting enough protein? I don't care. I'm done. I'm done with this. And I literally that day stopped tracking my macros. I want to say, have I tracked them since then? I don't even know if I have. Not that I can recall. I mean, maybe I have. I don't want to be a liar, but not that I can recall. Not in a couple of years anyways. True statement. Oh, you guys, let me tell you about this bottle. This is not a pitch, but I bought this because I saw it on Instagram. And if you're someone who likes, if you film social media content, you'll love this thing. I don't have a discount code, although I did reach out to them. I'm I want to sell this bottle for you guys. Okay. This thingy, can you see it? You put your phone, it's magnetic. So your phone, if it's an iPhone, if you don't have an iPhone, what are you doing with your life? Just joking. Don't get mad, Androiders. Okay, so you put your phone right there on that little thing, and it holds it there, and then you can tilt it all the different ways. And I don't know about you, but if you need to film content, it's you're always holding your phone. It's kind of nice to have this little thing. It's called a Ringo. On Instagram, they're Get Ringo. I swear, I'm not. This is not an ad. This is not sponsored. It's just a great little tidbit. But I will before this episode comes out, I will reach out to them and say like, hey, give my homies a discount. And if I've got it, it'll be below in our show description. If I don't, then at least I'll put their website there for you. Anyways, the reason why I was getting a drink of water is because this is that point at which I get really thirsty for subscriptions. Like I'm asking you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Why not? Right? Like we've been hanging out. This is probably not your first rodeo. And if it is, welcome. I would love for me to be your first. The first time you're watching this video, you subscribe. That would be that would make my life. So if that's what happened today, please let me know in the comments. And if you're like, Chalene, I've already subscribed so long ago, but you didn't thank me for it, then let me know in the comments. You're already subscribed and that I was rude and I didn't thank you for it. But if you're going to subscribe, like while you're clicking, you might as well click that little notification bell, because hitting subscribe doesn't do anything on YouTube for some reason. The videos won't show up for you unless you turn on that little notification bell, and it's all free. So you might as well click it while you're there. Back to my personal protein journey. So once I stopped tracking macros, I didn't stop like kind of mentally taking a look at my plate and thinking to myself, okay, I want to start with plants and protein. Like that's going to be my goal, because almost everything has carbohydrates in it. And I'm going to get carbohydrates because I like French fries and I like bread. And I don't have to like try to get carbohydrates in. That's like nothing I have to like work at. Like that's really quite easy for me to do. But I was like, every time I sit down and have a meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, I'm going to think to myself, okay, I want to start with a plant base. Like I need something green. I want something that's like a vegetable. I want something that grew from the ground. And then I want a protein. And ideally, I want, generally speaking, a larger amount of protein than I do anything else. Because even when you're eating most proteins, it also has carbohydrates in it. So I just started to approach things kind of from an intuitive standpoint. Not worrying about the numbers, not worrying about the calories, not worrying about the grams, but just generally saying, I'm going to look at my plate and I'm going to start with plants and protein. And I started doing that more seriously, I guess, in like January or February. Now, my husband, God bless him, he usually follows suits. Like whatever I'm doing, he's doing. Why is this plant like attacking me? Why is this plant even here? It's not even a real plant. It's a fake plant. Uh-oh. Because I can only keep fake plants alive. But it's like, I keep hitting it. Stand by, I gotta move this plant. It looks unbalanced. No, now it's like coming out of my body. Move it all the way forward. How about that? It's so weird. There's like a plant right here. Oh, well, whatever. Okay, so anyways, Brett usually, whatever I'm doing, he does. Like when I was doing all my research for Phase It Up, like whatever different diet phase we're in, ouch, he will do whatever it is I'm doing, which is awesome. So it makes things much easier. So if you're in a household where like everyone's on a different plan, that is so hard. Try to get everybody on, don't be a dictator, but try to get everybody kind of doing the same thing. Life is so much easier. So we start doing this in January, February, start like really focusing on like, okay, protein first, protein and plants first. And if you caught my last video where I talked about how we basically started doing zone 2 cardio and not exercising more, but just being more active, and how we modified a few of our very minor, like literally we modified 3 habits, and over the course, and without any goal, like we weren't trying to lose weight, we weren't trying to lose body fat, but like, hello, I mean, isn't that kind of like always the goal? So like in the back of my head, I'm always like, well, I'm making these changes because I think it'll help my body composition. But I didn't have a specific goal in mind because I was happy with my body, and that's such a gift. And I can't even tell you what a gift it is to be happy with your body. And I think that's part of it. It's just not being angry with yourself and fighting against your body. Like, no, your body is a gift. Like, you guys are buddies. You should be nice to your body. You should speak nicely to your body, because your body believes your brain, and whatever your brain is telling your body is going to follow suit. So, again, we never set out to like lose weight or anything, but obviously when you're thinking about your nutrition, you're thinking about your exercise, you're saying to yourself like, yeah, I want to improve my composition. But it wasn't like I was unhappy with anything. I'm being honest. Maybe I needed to be, but I wasn't. Brett, on the other hand, he was a little discouraged. Like he was funny. He kept calling him, I don't know why it's funnier when guys put themselves down. Like, because he's so cocky. And he can lose like 5 pounds overnight. You know what I mean? And he's like, look at me. You ever seen something so good looking? Like, you know what I mean? Guys are just funny that way. And so he was joking around about, he's like, look at me, I'm fat. And I'm like, don't say that. You are not fat. Don't say that. Anyway, so I think he was a little more dissatisfied with his physique. I wasn't. I thought it was great. So we started making these changes, and I broke down all of those changes in this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, you will see that there's a little thing you can click on. You can watch that episode. I will also put it in my show description, the episode where I talked about how we lost 9% body fat and the 3 things we did differently, one of which is what I'm sharing with you today. Okay, so we start doing this, and we're not restricting certain food groups at all. Like, we are in Europe and we are eating croissants, and we are having like the most decadent bread just dripping in olive oil. We're having French fries. We're having pizza. We're doing all the things, and it's quite delicious. But all along, we're still focusing on getting protein in first. So even on a day when we would have like a croissant for breakfast, we would always focus on having eggs first and some kind of a lean meat. And we just continued doing that and living our lives and enjoying ourselves, but it never once worrying about a percentage. Now, most personal trainers, most registered dietitians, most anyone who's going to, design for you a fitness program that helps you to, cut your body fat is probably going to put you in the 30 to 40%. They're going to want 30 to 40% of your calories to come from protein. I have no idea where we were. I couldn't tell you. Didn't care. We just continued doing this. And I felt I was just paying attention to my muscles. I'm like, I know I'm putting on muscle. This is great. And I can tell very slowly I'm starting to lose body fat. Very slowly though. But I'm also thinking to myself, this is so great. I'm not counting anything. I'm not worried about it. I'm eating all the foods. I kind of have this mindset around protein and plants. And so does Brett. And I'm seeing him. He's like, in his bathing suit on the boat. And I'm like, okay, his body composition is changing. And this is why most fitness professionals are going to have a real problem with what I'm about to say, because they're going to tell you that you need to go through a very, in my opinion, 3-step complicated process of figuring out like your total calories, your total percentage of your calories that should be coming from your protein, and then what percentage of protein you need. And that's going to change depending upon the expert. Some are going to tell you 0.6 grams per pound of body weight. Other people are going to say it's 1.4 grams. Other people are going to say 1.6 grams. Like there's so many numbers. And like I said, it's just, in my opinion, if you've tried that and it hasn't worked for you, or if just the thought of it or hearing about that complicates things for you and you're like, I'm out, then I want you to try this methodology. And it's so forgiving and it's so easy. And I'm describing it for you right now. It doesn't require an app. And it doesn't require you counting, and it doesn't require anything other than you. Here's the key though. You do need to be in a slight calorie deficit. And to get in a slight calorie deficit, do you need to track to know how much you're eating? I don't know. And to get into a slight calorie deficit, most experts would have you do this. They would tell you to track exactly what you're eating without changing anything for a week or 2. And then take that number, and if you've been able to maintain your weight at that number of calories, like what you've been eating is how you've been eating for like the last, couple of months, and your weight hasn't changed, well, then that's your daily maintenance calorie. Like what you're eating is maintaining your current weight, and you just need to reduce it by, say, 300 calories a day, maybe, to experience some kind of weight loss. And some might even suggest a deficit of 500 calories per day in order to lose a pound per week, right? So you have to be in a deficit, roughly speaking, of about 3,500 calories in a week to lose a pound. That is so general. I hate the calorie equation anyways. I mean, calorie equations are so basic. Like it's really energy, right? So you've got to create a considerable deficit so that you've got more energy going out than you have coming in, roughly about 3,500 calories worth. I have not tracked my calories or macros in ages. So I didn't focus on that. I just focused on being more active. Because I didn't want to get caught up in like, okay, did I have a 500 calorie deficit today? I didn't care. Like I said, I just wanted to be more active and focus on eating high quality greens, proteins, and enjoying the carbohydrates that we were enjoying in Europe. And, once we came back to the United States, we traveled for many months in the United States too. Because I know in my last video, people were like, oh, well, that's because you were in Europe the whole time. No, we were only in Europe for 2 months, 3 months, a little over, almost 3 months of the 6 months. So, lots of time here in the US. But my point is, experts would have you track your calories, right? And then they would have you monitor now what you're eating every single day so that you can ensure that you're in a 500 calorie deficit. Here's what my recommendation to you. It's so complicated. Like, why? Why do that? Just, have you been the same weight for quite a while or for like the last couple of months? Okay, great. So then whatever you've been eating, you don't have to track it. What you've been eating right now, in order to create a deficit, you need to eat a little bit less or you need to be a little bit more active. And you don't have to count anything. You don't have to track anything. You don't have to buy an app. You don't have to write anything down. I'm just telling you, it doesn't have to be as complicated as we make it. Have you been the same weight for quite a while? Okay, eat a little bit less. Don't freak out about it. Be more mindful about putting protein on your plate. And be a little bit more active. Walk a little bit more. Like right now, I'm filming standing. Why? Because that's activity. It's NEAT, otherwise known as non-exercise activity thermogenics. It's the things that you're doing that they're not necessarily exercise, but they are burning energy. Standing burns twice as much energy as sitting. Get yourself a standing desk. And when you hear those tips like park further away from the front door, do that. Take the stairs. Go for a walk after dinner. Add 10 minutes onto your exercise routine. Have sex. It burns calories. And if you have ADHD, you're just naturally going to burn a lot of NEAT calories because you're constantly forgetting why you just walked into this room and what you left upstairs. So I'm like up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs. And now instead of like getting mad at myself about that, I'm like, well, at least I'm burning energy. However, I do want to show you a couple things that I think will help you to understand like what protein looks like. So this is an image of what 130 grams of protein might look like. 3 eggs and chicken sausage, 35 grams of protein. Greek yogurt, 15 grams. Hummus, 6 grams. 4 ounces of chicken, 25 grams. Lentils, 24 grams. And a 6-ounce sirloin at 46 grams of protein. Obviously, you'd be eating things in addition to these protein sources, but I wanted you to get a sense of what 150 grams actually looks like. And it's not that hard to get 150 grams worth of protein from real food. I'm showing you this just so you get some ideas of how to get more protein into your diet, because I think that's a struggle for a lot of us, especially those of us who are like, gosh, in order to get this much protein in or to get more protein in, I feel like I'm going to overconsume my calories. So let's just take a look at what some great sources of protein might include. So let me share with you some tips I think are going to help you to get more protein in. First of all, let's talk about breakfast. Breakfast doesn't just have to be eggs or oatmeal. Like there's so many other things you can have for breakfast. One of the things I love having for breakfast is cold chicken. Like Brett makes everything. I don't do any cooking. So Brett will make like a nice healthy chicken dinner with brown rice or cauliflower rice or whatever. He'll make like a stir fry. And for me, in the morning, I love to eat that cold. I don't like it warm in the morning, but I love that cold. You could do chicken sausage. Anything you normally would eat for lunch or dinner, you can have in the morning. There are no rules here, but if you're like, that just doesn't sound good to me in the morning, totally cool. There are other ways that you can get protein in the morning, in addition to your eggs and your meats. Like, for example, throwing in a little bit of fiber protein powder into your oatmeal. I love Greek yogurt. I love Greek yogurt, and that's so high in protein. I'll mix that with some fresh berries and a little bit of granola, and it's literally like a dessert for breakfast. When we go to a restaurant, I'll order a delicious steak, and sometimes they'll say like, oh, it comes with mashed potatoes or French fries. Sometimes I have that. Again, I don't track or restrict any of this, but generally speaking, I'll say, okay, first I need plants. So I will ask them, can we put greens on my plate? Are there vegetables I can swap that out with? And then I just enjoy a delicious steak. I love ceviche. Do you guys like ceviche? I freaking love ceviche. So it's really easy for me to get that extra protein in because I love these food sources. So for example, in a typical order of ceviche, you're going to get about 5 ounces of fish, which is so high in protein. And if you're someone who's vegan or you're trying to figure out a way to get adequate protein without eating animal products, I want to share with you this quick video from my girlfriend, Jen Delvaux. We went to high school together. We're still besties. She's got a great podcast, by the way, called Not Today Cancer. She and her husband both are cancer survivors. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her husband was diagnosed with brain cancer. And talk about warriors. I'm also going to have Jen on the show to talk about hormone replacement therapy for those of you who are not candidates for bioidentical hormone replacement. Like, you need to approach it from the standpoint of supplementation, and you've got to be very careful about your hormone levels because of perhaps a previous cancer diagnosis. Anyways, here's Jen's recommendation on how to get more protein in your diet while at the same time avoiding animal products.
After my breast cancer diagnosis, I decided to go whole food, plant-based, and I needed to figure out proteins that weren't the fake meats. So I'm gonna share my favorites with you. I love soy products, organic, non-GMO, of course. This is a great edamame that you can get from Costco, huge bag, and you can steam that. I love tempeh and tofu. This is a staple in my household. I will just roast at 400 for about 20 minutes with different seasonings, and I'll throw that on salads or in bowls or just with vegetables. Lentils, quinoa, farro, you can make this ahead of time. And again, keep it in your fridge. And this is something you can easily just take a third cup and put it on a salad or just have it with something else. Beans are a great source of protein. They're also a great source of fiber. I love, of course, chickpeas that I will make hummus out of, or cannellini beans. This is one of my favorites. I will add this to avocado, and I make this for my avocado toast. It's delicious, more fiber and more protein. Any type of seed. I love chia, flax, hemp seeds. These are the chia and flax are great to add to oatmeal in the morning. Make sure that you are grinding your own flax. That's when you get the most benefits. And hemp seeds are great to throw on a salad as well. And then, of course, any type of nuts or seeds. I love almonds and pistachios and Brazil nut. Any type of nut is good. And then, of course, seeds are amazing for you as well. Nut butters. And the last thing I want to say is that I don't think a lot of people realize you are still getting protein in vegetables as well, like kale and spinach and broccoli. So just another thing to think about.
And again, it's not about perfection. I mean, there are plenty of times where we have a meal and I'm not thinking about protein. It's the 80-20 rule. You know, if I'm being honest, it's probably the 90-10 rule. Like, probably 90% of the time I'm good about starting with the protein. 10% of the time I'm like, let's just have pizza. I don't even care. Like, I don't need plants. I don't need any protein. This pizza's delicious. And having that kind of attitude about food is so freeing. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you. Okay. So I just had my results from my lab work done with my doctor who helped. She's my integrative doctor. She's a hormone expert. Shout out to Dr. Singler. Love her. If you're in California, I'll put her contact information below. She's in Huntington Beach, but she does virtual appointments too. But anyways, Brett and I both had our lab work done to look at our hormones, right? I'm in menopause. But one of the things she said is, she goes, do you know you have cut your cortisol in half? And your thyroid is working twice as fast as it was before. You can stop taking your thyroid medication. I'm like, what? And I really do think a big piece of that is just going, I'm not going to worry about this so much. Like, I just am going to live my life and enjoy myself and not freak out and not track and count and like just driving myself crazy and worrying about these things. I think that's very stressful. Brett's cortisol level was also cut in half. It's remarkable. But what I want to show you now is our body scans. So these are scans before. First, I'm going to show you Brett's. Okay. I'm not even sure if I'm going to put mine up there. If I can find a way to cross out my weight, I will. And the reason why I do that is because I think when women see other women's weight, it's very triggering. And I know I find it triggering, and I think that people forget that I'm 5'2". So you should never look at like my numbers, and I have different parents, and I'm a different age, like all these things. Like, you can't look at someone will say like, how many grams of protein do you eat per day? As you know, if you've watched to this point in the video, I don't know because I don't track. But I'm going to share, here's Brett's numbers before and here's his numbers after. And as you can see, he lost almost 10 pounds. As of this morning, he has lost 10 pounds, and not even 1 pound of it was muscle. He's been able to maintain his muscle and only lose body fat. If I'm able to show mine, I think I should be able to. I should be able to show you my before and afters, and you can see same thing. Like, to think that I took this very relaxed approach to it and just kind of adopted a mindset an intuitive way of eating protein and stopped tracking and worrying about calories. And I was able to maintain the same muscle mass and in the process lose, I think as of today, it's been like a total of 10 pounds over the course of 6 months. Like it hasn't been fast, right? Actually, it's probably been a little bit more than 6 months. That's remarkable. And by remarkable, I mean freeing. Guy, why did I make it so difficult before? I don't know. Let me be very clear, very transparent. Our results are not simply because of our protein intake. Our results are a combination of things. It's always a multitude of things that you're just stacking one on top of the other. It's becoming more active. It's switching to zone 2 cardio. It's relying heavily on strength training. I do strength training 5 days a week. If you would like to see my full strength training routine, what I do all 5 days, I will link to that below. It's called Chalene's Weekly Workout Routine. You can watch it on YouTube. You can see me go through all the exercises. I think I need to do an updated version. Would you like an updated version? If you would, drop a comment below this video and I'll give you another one. I'll give you the exactly what I'm doing all 5 days of my strength training as well as my zone 2 cardio. But in addition to that, it's us paying attention to our stress. Really making it an intention. Like it was our goal to reduce our stress, to stop worrying so much, not just about food and exercise, but like all things, all people, worrying what people think, worrying, trying to change other people's minds and trying to control people. Like all that stuff is so stressful. Just let go of it. Stop worrying about what other people think. That's going to help you to reduce your stress a lot. It was monitoring our hormones. It was, for me anyways, doing hormone replacement therapy. And I know some of you are not able to do that, but man, if you are not even sure, if you want to get a second opinion, I highly recommend that you do that. Get a second opinion and see if in fact there's some new data out there that suggests that perhaps you are a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. And remember, the earlier you start, the better. It was us focusing on our sleep, the quality of our food, getting adequate rest, taking care of our bodies, like doing massage and rolling out and things that, like just taking care of the machine. All of those things combined have helped us to just get to a place where we're much happier, more balanced, and able to maintain the muscle that we have without losing any muscle, and in the process, recompositioning our bodies so that we are leaner without having to put much effort into it. I hope that was helpful for you. Listen, I'm not saying this for everybody, but I am suggesting that if you've tried all the other things, if you are someone like me who, did the counting and the tracking and the obsessing, or you're someone who feels overwhelmed by the whole mathematical equation that's involved and it just feels like more work than it's worth, then try this approach and do me a favor. Tell yourself how freaking amazing you are. Start speaking positively about your body, about what it's done for you, what it continues to do. Like, share with me in the comments below something that you're very grateful for. Some part of your body. I don't know what it is, but like you've got to start doing this because your body is listening. Listen, I love you. I mean it. And I'll talk to you soon. And ouch, stupid plant. Hang on. What was I saying even after the plant attacked me?